Welcome to Circle Sanctuary Network Podcasts, brought to you by Circle Sanctuary, one of the oldest nature spirituality churches in the United States, connecting people of nature-centered paths around the world. Join us through the week for a variety of shows discussing various topics, celebrating the divine in all of its forms, through nature worship, rituals, education, and building bridges of community.
Good evening, good morning, good night, good second breakfast, whenever you are, wherever you are. My name is Laura Gonzalez, and I'd like to welcome you to Lunatic Mondays, Lunes, Lunáticos, the very first bilingual show for CSNP, the Circle Sanctuary Network podcast. And tonight, I am very excited. You know, I fangirl on her all the time, and I am ridiculous, and I cannot help myself. The one and only Wendy Rule is here with us tonight. Wendy, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Lunatic Mondays once again. How are you?
I'm really well. Laura. It's nice to be doing this face-to-face, because normally this is the first time we've done with video, so it's nice to get to actually see you as we're talking. Yeah, I'm well. It was a long, cold winter here in New Mexico, and just seeing these first new signs of, spring coming out and the weather starting to turn to something more favorable is really delightful. Yeah, I'm happy.
It is wonderful. It looks like things are getting better. It looks like this cannot now talk about the pandemic. So, with the pandemic and how our lives change and everything was put on a very long pause, almost like a 2-year pause for a lot of people. And I was telling people on 2020, and I will continue saying that for forever, what has saved us all and what has kept us all sane is art, is music, is creators such as yourself. And paradoxically, the people who took a harder hit were the artists. So without getting to gloom, how are you doing now that things are looking a little bit better?
Well, I'll tell you, I was in a relatively fortunate position that I'd already begun doing online concerts 2 years before the start of the pandemic. I began doing my Full Moon Magic concerts, and then I shifted them over to Patreon about 1 year before the pandemic started. So I already had a little bit of a flow. So then, and it was a kick in the guts. I had like so many artists, I had an absolutely chock-a-block 2020 planned with 2 tours to Australia and la-da-da and this and that and all that. It's the equivalent of a locust plague coming through and taking your crop. It was like all the work of the planning, let alone the income, just went just like that. So then it was, the great thing about being an artist, and all of us who are creative, which is everyone really, but all of us especially who are living by our creative output, know that you have to constantly be adaptable. And the music industry in the past few years keeps shifting the parameters of what we're doing. It's like it used to be that we'd all be staying afloat from CD sales. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. It's all streaming. So how does it change then? So I was already in a position of having to rapidly adapt to a very quickly changing scene. And the pandemic just sped things up. So I already had Patreon as a setup template. And then all the energy that I would have been putting into my live gigs just went to Patreon. And without that, I just would have been completely screwed. And what I then found out is that I absolutely love doing the whole Patreon thing, and that I'm really doing my best work there at the moment. And so, I commit to doing a full moon concert every month, themed around the astrological sign of the moon. And then I do like dark moon meditations and la. As you get up the higher tiers, this year I've just started doing Zoom meetings for my inner circle group. And then it really feels now like we have an established community, a supportive established community where we care for each other. And yeah, it's been wonderful. So a lot of good has come out of the pandemic in that way. I've learnt that I don't have to be on the road all the time to be making a living. I can be spending more time at home. And this is my home that we're in now. You can't see much of it. I'll move out the way a bit. But gorgeous old Victorian home in New Mexico. And I love being here. So being able to cut back on my touring a little has been good. That said, I love travel, and it has always been a big part of my life since my adult years. And the hardest thing for me was not being able to get to Australia easily. I went back, when was that? Like a year ago, I was in Australia nursing my dad across the threshold, and I was in Australia for 5 months, and I haven't been back since about a year ago. And that's the longest I've been away from my son. So I'll be heading back very soon, and I'll be there for my son's 30th birthday, which is just awesome. And, see my sisters and all my friends. Not being able to just zip over there in the way that I wanted to has made it tricky. But that said, I'm super geared up for this upcoming tour. It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
And of course, for people who are listening right now, this was pre-recorded precisely because Wendy was going to Australia as this show airs on May 20 something. I don't even know what day is today. Let me check.
Yeah, 23rd. That would be right.
Yeah, as we are today, May 23rd.
That's a Monday. Yeah. I will have just celebrated on the 21st. It's my son's birthday party. So, yeah. So there was no way I could have done this in Australia because the time differences are just so crazy that it's really hard pinning down different time zones. So,
and we all know I'm a night owl, but I'm not that good.
No. And I'm not going to do a 6 a.m. Zoom interview. No way.
No way, Jose. So, okay, things are moving on now. By the way, you mentioned Patreon a couple of times. What is your Patreon for those who don't know and they want to join?
Oh, it's just patreon.com/Wendy Rule. Yeah, it starts at $3 a month is my tier for, and you get like a full moon concert, and even like this coming Saturday, which is of course the past for
time travel.
My dear friend Kellyanna, who many people will know, a wonderful pagan musician from Massachusetts who's been my friend for decades, she and I have started this really cool monthly Zoom thing that we're calling Spiral Talk. And it's a patron-only thing. Her patrons are my patrons, and we just do a Zoom thing and we chat about a particular theme. And so there's all these perks for being a patron, as well as just the monthly concerts. There's discounts and la-da-da. And there's also like just a sense of connection, of community. Like I've made friends through my Patreon community, and my patrons have made friends with each other. It's totally delightful. So yeah, that's my Patreon thing, and I love it. I totally love it. And so that's the one good thing that came out of the stupid pandemic for me. But yeah, I'm now looking at the year ahead and, just amazed that I'm booked for live shows again. And of course, PSG, which is just going to be, I'm home. I cut my Australian tour short by a couple of weeks to make sure I could get back in time for PSG. And I'm so excited about that. It's to be at an actual pagan festival again, and all the lovely things that means is going to be astonishing. Yeah.
That's going to be great. And I'm going to get to see you again in person. So I'm very happy about that. There's going to be a whole array of amazing musicians and groups and artists that are going to be part of PSG. But you do have a long history of a relationship with PSG. This is what, like your, I don't know, 10th? I don't know. How many times you've been?
No, not at all. It's the opposite, actually. I have a long history with Selena because I love her, and we have crossed at many, many festivals, and I hold her in the absolute highest regard. She's an absolute darling and wise woman. So I've always felt this strong connection, and because the pagan community, especially in the States, but around the world too, is so supportive of each other. There's been a lovely mutual because I'm touring internationally all the time. It's been tricky to pin down, sometimes to pin down these festivals. Well, the first one that I went to, the only one other than this, is the one that got flooded out. And that was the one where, but I've seen you at other festivals. So you might be mixing it up with that. But that was the PSG where I came in with Tim, my husband, and then there were just these endless mighty rains and flood, and they had to end up evacuating after like 1 day or 2 days. I think I got to do the Bandapalooza concert, and then everything got relocated to Circle Sanctuary. And so in a way, again, it's that, make lemonade type thing, where the good thing with that for me is I got to go to Circle Sanctuary and be there at this time when the community was coming together through crisis, essentially, and perform a little concert for the cleanup crew. But this PSG will actually be my first proper PSG.
Wow. I was definitely confusing things because I've seen you in Chicago more times.
Exactly.
Than I have seen you on PSG. You are absolutely correct. Thank you for how do you say I stand corrected?
And we saw each other in Florida too once, didn't we? Didn't we go?
No, we saw each other. I met you in person at PSG.
Australian one? No.
No,
okay.
I met you in person PSG 2015. That's when I ran to you, like, oh my God,
Wendy Rule. Yeah. I remember that. That was cute.
And then you came to Chicago that very summer.
That's
like
right.
A week later, I saw you here in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then I've seen you on the online presentations, but right before the pandemic, you were in Chicago as well for a 2-day.
Exactly. And you came to my Persephone workshop then. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you were on the online PSG as well.
Exactly. That's true. I was in the online PSG. So really this is my third PSG because the online stuff counts. It's what kept us all flowing as communities. I did a lot of online stuff for festivals, which it was good that we were still able to be there all supporting each other and maintaining community. But to actually be at a real PSG and do the whole thing and be there with other amazing pagan people is going to be incredible. Yeah,
it is indeed, absolutely. And it's so funny for me. This is probably something you're familiar as well. Now that you mention Patreon and all that, coming from Australia, I don't know how much of online stuff you did before the pandemic, but it's bizarre. It's funny for me to see the Anglo community moving to online concerts and presentations when the Spanish-speaking pagan community has done that for years.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, well, that's all we had for many decades is online community. Now pagans in Central America, Mexico, South America, etc., are a little bit more open. And I've told you, you have a huge following with the Spanish speaking pagans because they love your music just as much as we do. And
that's so lovely.
Yeah.
I really had better start learning Spanish, hadn't I?
That'd be great. Think about it. If you were to come up with an album on Spanish.
I know, but I do this other crazy thing that doesn't make very much sense, is that I'm an incredibly dedicated student of the Greek language, and I do I've been studying Greek for like 7 years, and I'm kind of half fluent now, and so it's tricky, but it's not a really very practical thing. Not much of the world is Greek speaking.
Well, you'll be surprised.
I love it. Yeah.
You'll be surprised how easy the jump from Greek to Spanish will be.
I bet it will. Yeah, I bet that will be the case. Every year I keep saying, this is the year I'm going to knuckle down and learn some Spanish. And I live in New Mexico. It's a bilingual state, it's crazy for me. But I love languages in general. And so, it's a good little kick up the proverbial, thanks, Laura, at least get my Rosetta Stone out, my Duolingo, start jumping on the Spanish thing too.
Well, if you need assistance with translating your
Oh.
amazing songs, you know,
Oh, how
I know
nice.
somebody.
That would be really fun. Maybe you could choose a song like,
Oh my God.
imagine if something like horses, imagine horses translated to Spanish. Maybe you could do that and I could just learn it.
Or imagine what
deity?
Deity. Deity is, I was talking to a friend of mine the other, this is so cool because I'm looking at you and it's like if we were just chit-chatting here.
I know, I love that about Zoom. It actually works really well.
that this is going to all the public who will listen and or watch, but
yeah,
this is so cool. I was talking to a friend of mine who put on one of their Instagram stories one of your songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I asked her, what's your favorite song by Wendy Rule? And she says, you're kidding, right? She has so many. And I said, well, I definitely have two. Like, you know, I cannot believe Creator Destroyer, of course, and Dissolve. And Dissolve, I think while everybody else was listening to Hecate nonstop, I was listening to Dissolve nonstop. I just adore that song.
Thank you. I mean, it's about as Samhain as you can get, that song, isn't it? You know, Hecate's out and proud, but Dissolve is like, it just wants you to take you right inward, dark moon, Samhain stuff. Yeah. I mean, it starts with the words, it is Samhain and the veils are thin. You know, I mean, yeah.
It's just wonderful. And I don't know if you recall this, but my first interactions with you on Facebook were about that song. And can you please tell me why you're talking about and what is the whispering? Because, you know, it was hard for me to get it. And after so many years of listening, I think I got it.
Yeah.
But it will be a great, you know, gift for not only for Laura Gonzalez, but for all your following who speak Spanish and love.
Well, I would love that. I'll knuckle down. But maybe if you feel like translating something that I put in my usual set, like Deity or something like that, would be great. Or Hecate would be great.
I think
Dissolve isn't so great to perform live because it's got two interwoven vocal parts and I've only got one throat.
I think Hecate will be amazing because
Hecate would be fun.
People who speak Spanish, they know that. And I know, I would know because we have the podcast for 3 years in Spanish and almost every weekend people ask for Hecate by Wendy Rule because they love that.
Let's do it, Laura. That would be just such a great thing. I mean, basically, if you're up for translating it, I'm up for learning it.
Of course, of course. I will. It happened right before your eyes, people.
Oh, good. And it also hasn't got too many words, that song, either. So it's not going to be too hard for me.
Easy.
Oh, let's make that happen. We could even try to, if we could try to get it happening by PSG.
Oh, my goodness. Think about it. Well, I got my job cut off for me, don't I?
And I've got mine. Yours is translate a song. Mine's learn another language.
Learning, you know, they say learning a song. I don't know. I mean, you sang that song for what is it, La Llorona or something? You passed me the video.
Oh yes, I did. That was in Spanish. Yeah, exactly that. But that was exactly what I'd already had the song written in English, which is my song Hollow from my Persephone album. And then a friend who is a Spanish speaker in Australia, she translated it for me. We met over a number of times and chatted about, you know, the flow and how it would fit. And she translated it, and then I essentially learnt it by rote. And but I remembered it well. You know, it was that was for the film Boys in the Trees, and I was in the role of the weeping woman La Llorona, and so dressed in sort of Day of the Dead makeup. And it's you can find it on YouTube if you look for Wendy Rule Boys in the Trees. You'll find a clip for it. Yeah.
It is wonderful. It's wonderful to hear you.
Feature film. Yeah.
And nowadays people are a little bit more understanding that if this is not your first language, the tone might be a little bit askew, or
Yeah, that's right.
and it's not like it was 20 years ago that, oh my God, it's ridiculous. And I mean,
Oh,
all
yeah.
that has changed. But anyway, let's switch the gears for a little bit. So you're coming to
Yeah.
PSG. This is going to be
Coming to
wonderful.
PSG. It's going to be amazing. I'm slightly trepidatious about the weather because I think it's probably going to be really hot and humid. Is that correct?
I've gone to San Luis a couple of times, and it's usually humid as a mouse, but I've never been in the summer, so I am in for a surprise as well as everybody else.
Well, I live in the desert, so humidity isn't my favorite thing, but I'm also adaptable and I shall cope. And of course, like everyone else, I'll be camping, so hopefully they set me up with a nice big tent for me to flake out in the middle of the day.
And what I know is, as far as I remember, and this, don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, but I think there is a big cooling area
that
will be open for
good.
everybody.
Oh, well, that's nice. That will be
kind of
good.
like a hall, or like a general use hallway.
Yeah, like a communal space. Well, that sounds fun. So yeah, I'm doing PSG, and I actually just last month performed my first kind of proper festival concert at the very wonderful Paganicon conference in Minneapolis. That's a terrific conference. Really well run, great people, great presenters, very friendly. I was really struck by how inclusive it was. There was a great welcoming of people of all genders, all colors, all sizes, all ages. It was just really, really admirable and wonderful event. So, and it just felt amazing to actually like perform a concert where I'm on stage and there's the audience, and I can't go back and edit things and tidy it up like I can with my other stuff. It's like in that amazing excitement of having a direct connection with the audience, Wow, I loved it. So that set the year off really well. And then, of course, I've got this Aussie tour, lots of gigs, 13 events over the course of a month. So it's really busy, and all my family stuff too. Most of the events are in Victoria, my home state, where Melbourne is the capital. And had someone write to me and it's like, why is everything in Victoria? I've got, sure, a Sydney show and a Canberra show and up that way. And it's like, because that's where my family is. So I'm going to hang out where my family is. That's all there is to it. That's my primary reason for heading back, my friends and family. And so anyway, the big Aussie tour, then PSG 2 weeks after I get home. And then I'm also booked for Cleveland Pagan Pride Day in August, which is a wonderful event. Again, it's a terrific pagan pride. Every year I've been there, Tuatha Dea has performed, and hopefully they will again. And Ginger Ackley and Brian Henke are regulars there as well. So lots of good pagan musicians. And then the rest of the year, I have a new, I'm writing songs for a new album. And so that's really exciting. So I kind of want to be home a lot as well, just to, and we're going to be recording at home because Tim's a sound engineer. And so we've got a home studio because we've got the space for it now. And so that's kind of going to be my main focus for the second half of the year, is a new album. And after the kind of, I don't know how many of our wonderful listeners are familiar with my last album, Persephone, but that was a kind of 24-track opera of an album in a way, like really complex. It was, a retelling of the Persephone myth. It took 12 years to make. It involved loads and loads of musicians. And after that, I just really want to come back for my next album to being a troubadour with a guitar. So it will be very simple and come back to the core principle of my pagan way of life, which is direct connection with nature. And that's a big reason. That's the reason why I'm out here in the wilderness of New Mexico, because I mean, we're on 4.5 acres. I'm looking out now and there's ravens flying by, and I just saw a red-tailed hawk fly by, and there's juniper trees swaying in the wind, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know, maybe I can turn this around and folks can even see out the window. If you can see what I look out on when I'm sitting here, it's gorgeous, and so this album is just inspired by being here, being a human in nature on Earth. So the songs, for anyone who's pagan, the references are just really obvious. For anyone who's not, it's songs about nature, And I just want to. It's almost like I want to get back to strip back to the simplest, most purest connection of my heart and my spirituality in connection with the cosmos. So songs of earth and sky, and and it's been wonderful. Often I've always loved writing whilst I'm hiking. I'll take my phone and use the little dictaphone thing on it and stuff. And out here, of course, that's just so easy. I can just be walking around, working on the land, going for a hike at the local, canyon, and be writing and writing and writing. So, my hope and my aim is to have a new album out by the end of the year, and I'm also working on another project that I really hoped I'd have out before this Aussie tour, but I'm really, really, really going to hope that I have it out by PSG. And that is, I don't know if you are aware of the online course that I ran, well, right throughout the pandemic, actually. It's called Positive Magic. And I began it, the first one was in April 2020, when all my gigs disappeared. And like I said, be creative. How am I going to stay financially afloat and emotionally and spiritually afloat when my whole world was, like all of us, was just pulled out from under me, So I developed this month-long online course where, from full moon to full moon, where every day I'd send out like a 15-minute guided meditation that follows the moon through her phases. And then I'd do videos, like 4 videos, and full moon, dark moon, new moon, full moon. And it was a wonderful success on so many levels. And that's why I've run it 5 times. I just finished one a couple of months ago. So what I want to do now is I've gone back and because I began that kind of on the fly, I began running the course and recording the daily meditations as the first course was taking place. So now I'm looking back over 5 times of running it and seeing where it can be improved. Our recording skills have upped and our equipment has got heaps better. So as soon as I get home from the Australian tour, I'm going to be re-recording all of those meditations, and basically we're going to have a downloadable or on a USB thing ready for you to take yourself through a guided month-long journey, 30 to 15-minute meditations. And the aim is we'll have that ready by PSG. We'll launch it at PSG. Yeah.
I'm going to need a copy, obviously.
Oh, of course you will.
It will be awesome. And I want to tap into a lot of things that you mentioned here on the last segment. First of all, my audience cannot fail me at this moment. If they are not familiar with the Persephone album, it's because they have not been paying attention to my shows. Because I know and I adore a lot of musicians, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you have a pre-recorded show, a show that I recorded before it came out, and you listen to music on that show, it's going to be Wendy Rule, and it's going to be one of the Persephone album songs, because I love that album.
Thank you.
I think by now I feel very fortunate to be your friend as well, but I think, and I will always say, I'm your number 1 fan. I will always be your number 1 fan. You are fantastic.
Thank you.
And I love the Persephone album, and I'm sure our audience are also familiar with it. Also, for those who are not watching this video, for those who are just listening, go to YouTube, find the video so you can see what Wendy Rule just panned her camera right now, and you can see the amazing land in which she is living right now with her husband. And I cannot wait until I hear this a more stripped down, album, because yes, the whole Persephone album, which is fantastic, and you have all these wonderful collaborations and all these artists that were part of it, part of the process, your husband and everybody else, all your friends that collaborated, and the colors and all of that.
5 other singers. Yeah.
Yes, but back to the guitar and your voice.
Yeah.
It's just organic. I think it's very natural that you go back to that, and I cannot wait. And right now, obviously, already inviting you to come back to the show when that album comes out. So we can showcase it. But I think you're one of the few people that I know that actually does walk the walk and talk the talk when it comes down to be out on nature, touching the ground, doing the hikes. Some of us are not able to do it, so we live vicariously. Is that the word?
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah, through all the art that you put out there, and it's just marvelous, because neuron mirrors and the whole thing. People, if you don't know what neuron mirrors are, Google it. It's amazing. So we cannot wait to have those that album, and obviously the new moon meditation.
Yeah, the positive magic. Yeah, that's I'm excited about the positive magic journey, because for me, when I'm actually running the course, it's very labor intensive, and there's only so many people that I can be connecting in, so I limit the numbers. Because I'm there each morning connecting with people, for a month, So to be able to have it as a fully downloadable product on my Bandcamp page, which should be up there within, like I say, by PSG, to be able to have that and full instruction booklet and links to all the guided videos and all that means that people can be doing this in their own time. If I'm not running the course that month, well, there's the material. You can take yourself through it, And so that's going to be really exciting. And also, I have are you familiar with Mighty Networks, the online kind of community group? It's called Mighty Networks.
No, I'm not.
I was getting really fed up with stupid Facebook, and it's like so many reasons why it's annoying, and yet we still need it because it's how we're connecting in, But I wanted to try to work out some other way of connecting with, yes, Puss, come on, darling. It's very important. I have to answer the pussycat. Connecting in with, our community. So I created a kind of not private community, but a curated community, and it's on this format called Mighty Networks. It's really lovely. It's like Facebook. You make a profile, but there's not all the advertisements and people arguing and all that stupid stuff that goes with Facebook. It's just people like you and I chatting. Most days I'll post a picture, or someone else will post it's all inspirational stuff, nature, ideas, books, thoughts. It's just totally lovely. And you can join that by just going to wendyrulecommunity.com. That's all it is, wendyrulecommunity.com. It's free to join, and just a really nice way of staying in touch. So I'm only just beginning to build that up. But my idea with Positive Magic is to have a subgroup of that so that we can be chatting and exploring. Anyone who's doing the Positive Magic journey can go, hey, how was your full moon experience, And so that's what else I've been working on at the moment. Yesterday, I posted a picture of a coyote that I saw just wandering the fields down the road on my Wendy Rule community page. And, it's nice just sharing things like that, whatever we find uplifting or real, not only uplifting. If we're going through a hard time, it's a good time to post, and just stuff that's real, And
it's very important what you mentioned, because even though, like me, my business, I have to be on Facebook in order to maintain my business. But it has become a lot of nonsense and a lot of, I hate to use these words, but fake news. And like you say, all the advertisement and all this ridiculousness that the connection with the friends that it started like 10 years ago seems to be no longer available. And to have something more curated for like-minded people is a great opportunity
Yeah,
for folks to connect.
it's great.
And like you say, keeping it real, because not something that I think I connect a lot with you through the music is that, yes, there are 6 for the darkness and 6 for the light.
6 of the light. Yeah, that's it.
There, there's
That's right.
always that balance in your music and everything that you put out
Yeah.
artistically, and it is important that we recognize also the up times, but also the lower times.
Oops, hang on. Sorry, I just clicked something.
All right, there you are.
Hang on, I can't. Yes, but I can't see me. Where am I? Oh, there we are. Good.
There you are. There you are. So thank you for doing that. And I like to say thank goddess for technology, because all of this advances and all of these things that you have come up with throughout the pandemic, before the pandemic, and then after the pandemic, and they are going to stay there for posterity. And I cannot wait until we have the Positive Magic available for everybody to get a copy and to do our work. And not only that, where you say that when sometimes you probably are on tour or too tired or working too much, but sometimes we commit to do things and then we can't do them because of whatever reason. So it's a great resource to have it available on your own time. And if you couldn't commit to do it the whole month, then you start again. That's what I love about paganism. That's what I love about the wheel of the year. That's what I love about counting the time. I'm a bit obsessed with it, my 11 calendars and all that. But that's what make it, to me, worth it, is that with nature, we see the cycles, and this lifestyle religion, or whatever you want to call it, to me is my religion, obviously. It allows for time and starting all over and starting again and going with the cycles. And I just think it's beautiful.
I was going to say before, when I was saying, oh, I'm out hiking and all that, I'm so aware that that's not an opportunity for so many people for loads of different reasons: mobility issues, where they live, available time. I'm at a point in my life, I'll be 56 this year, that I've got more free time than I have ever had, since I was a kid, where my kids grown up, all that kind of thing. But sometimes just going off for a daily hike isn't an option for people. And it's lovely that you can say that, you can journey vicariously through the work that I do. But it's also good to remember that nature is everywhere, and that just tapping in with ourselves is tapping in with nature, because we're nature, we're Mother Earth, just as much as all the rest. And, the other thing that I find really helpful is just watching nature documentaries and or even just... we have like a big projector, that we'll watch movies and stuff on. And sometimes we'll just put a YouTube, one of those like aerial 4K cameras and 2 hours of beautiful footage of forests or whatever, And, I might just be reading or something, but there's this nature, it's still engaging, even though it seems like, oh, that's not real, that's with technology. But no, that's what you were saying. Technology is great. We're connecting face to face right now, in a way that we haven't been able to since Chicago,
I honestly, I don't think since we met, because we've met, but you're in a concert or you're in a class or you're giving a workshop, and we're not chit-chatting like friends like this. And doing this through technology, 45 minutes have gone by, and have you felt the 45 minutes?
Wow.
Because I haven't, And last month, we had Byron Ballard on the show last month.
Oh, she's terrific.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing. And we were talking precisely about that, how nature is there, and for people who live in a city, such as Chicago or Atlanta or Baltimore or New York or whatever, nature is there. There.
It's in the cracks in the pavement. It's in the sky. It's in the different lengths of days and nights. And also, like, I'm here in this landscape, and that's one particular version of nature, but sometimes I might want to look at and connect in with something more lush. That's when I'll stick a nature doco that's set in the tropics on or something, you know. It's like we just need to adapt and be open and tune in and always keep coming back to remembering that we are nature. That to me is that core of paganism. Yeah.
And for me, I think at the beginning of the show, and it's kind of like we're going full circle, because I was telling you Creator Destroyer is one of my favorite songs. And I think I'm a very, very proud city pagan. I love the landscape against the sunset. I love the cityscape, and especially on the city. You gotta forgive me. Sorry, but not sorry. Chicago's the most wonderful city in the world. Sorry,
I like
New York.
Chicago very much. Yeah.
You know, and
Melbourne's the most wonderful city, but Chicago's a good second.
Well, Mexico City has its things, but anyway, the skyline, the cityscape of Chicago is wonderful, and each city has a feeling too. You know, it has a spirit, if you will. It
yes,
has
exactly. Yeah.
And so when you talk about Creator Destroyer, about how she takes over the cables and she takes over the buildings, and I'm like, oh yeah. You know, I'd love to imagine. I don't want to see it in my lifetime. Thank you very much.
No.
But that visual that you give us on that song for us city people is destroying, but it's reassuring that she is there and we are part of her. We are undeniably part of nature, and
it's
just been so darling to talk to you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
It's been amazing, Laura. Yeah.
You know, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for PSG. We're gonna see you at PSG. I promise I will run to you.
Oh wow. I just can't wait. It's going to be amazing. I kind of, you know, I mean, I've been to loads of pagan festivals in my time, but of course now it's been, other than the Minneapolis one, which is a bit different because it was in a hotel, which you'd want it to be in a hotel in what was February in Minneapolis. So yes, hotel room, please. But to be at an actual kind of outdoor event again, wow, that's going to just be so delightful, and all the wonderful things that pagan events have, you know. I should also give a quick plug. I'm running events here at our place, and well, it's hard to really see how gorgeous this is, but it's gorgeous. And our house is really big. It's an old Victorian mansion. It's beautiful. And so the next event that's coming up, we're doing Beltane here, but we've decided to do that as a semi-private event, and we're installing a maypole ready for the next year's Beltane retreat. But Samhain, the first weekend of November, I'm going to run a retreat here. It's like an exclusive, all-inclusive. The last one we did last Samhain, I cooked all this amazing vegan food. We had about 12 people. It was for 3 nights, did ritual, did a concert. It's amazing. So the next Samhain one, I'm going to be taking bookings for that pretty soon. Yeah, once I get back from Australia, I'll get that set up. So that's going to be, because this time, you know, we kind of really know what we're doing.
That is awesome. Well, like I say, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes to PSG. It's going to be great to see you there. And as always, for me personally, thank you for creating the beautiful art that you create for all of us to enjoy this wonderful music of yours and your instrument, your beautiful voice. So I
quickly thank you though. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the time that you take doing this, not just for me, but like for the incredible loyalty and support that you show to so many in the pagan, all of the pagan community, and creating this vehicle in making it bilingual. And how do you do that with these? Do you go through afterwards and kind of chat in Spanish about what we were talking about, or how does that work?
The Spanish ones have its specific themes. So I will interview authors in Spanish. I will interview other pagans that are doing their work on the Spanish speaking pagan community. And there is a big bilingual following on both Chicago and New York that I know of. I don't know where else there are Spanish speakers other than South America. Mexico, obviously, and Central America. And we also have a show on Portuguese that I don't, I'm not the broadcaster of that show, but Patricia Finkler is. And she does interviews with people who speak Portuguese speakers.
Fantastic.
So
yeah.
The other shows that I produce, the Paganos del Mundo or Pagaos do Mundo, that is in Spanish and Portuguese, and each collaborator does their own, themes and projects, and I just produce for them. And so we have all together, the whole station, the whole Circle Central Network podcast has over 700 shows, and a bunch of them are produced by yours truly. And some of them conducted by me, and some of them are conducted by other folks in Mexico, Central and South America. It's just fantastic. I love this medium, and I thank you for saying those wonderful words. And I invite everybody, whether you speak Spanish, Portuguese, or English, to follow not only me, but Selena Fox and David Janet Ewan and Deborah Rose and Charlotte Bayer and everybody that is part of this wonderful station. So Wendy, why don't I leave you the microphones so you can say goodnight to your audience tonight? Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Laura. Well, thank you to everyone who tuned in. It was lovely welcoming you to my little home here. And if you're listening in, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching, then I hope that our paths get to cross again very soon. And a great big hug to you, Laura.
A big hug to you too until we see each other. And a little bit after a month, we're going to be seeing each other. And to everyone who listened, as I mentioned before, all these shows on the CSNP, the Circle Central Network podcast, Mondays with Lunatic Mondays, Sundays and Wednesdays with Selena Fox, to Tuesdays a month with Deborah Rose, to Thursdays a month with David and Janet Ewan, every Friday with Charlotte Baer, and every Saturday, Paganos del Mundo, Cristina Ortiz, Harvard Tuileva, Monica Gobin, I'm forgetting. Okay, please forgive me, whoever I forgot. Carolina Amor. Everybody, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you to Wendy Rule. To those who are listening, yes, I'm going to play Creator Destroyer because I have to. For those who are watching, our show ends here right now. Never forget that you are loved. Bye-bye.
And thank you for joining us on the Circle Sanctuary Network podcasts, presented by Circle Sanctuary and produced for all who follow the Nature Center paths. Join us here throughout the week for various programming connecting the community around the world. And please don't forget to watch for updates on the Circle Sanctuary website at www.circlesanctuary.org. And follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CSN podcasts. We can also be found on your favorite podcast hosting sites, such as iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and others. And until next time, many blessings.